Hello everybody, this is Racer Canon 8, also known as David, and today I'm going to be doing another Versus commentary. Now, this one I'm going to try to shorten it down a little bit because usually when I do these I tend to ramble, but given the topic for today's, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to do that or not because I'm talking about two of my favorite shows. I'm comparing and contrasting two shows that are kind of similar but different at the same time. The shows are Lost and The 100. So, I'll do a quick little summary, I guess. So just to let you guys know, there will be spoilers in this commentary. So if you haven't watched all of the 100 or all of Lost, I suggest you don't continue this video because it'll give away stuff and then you'll be mad. So Lost I discovered about 2 years ago, a year ago. 2 years ago. I was still living at home. I discovered Lost on Amazon Instant Video or Amazon Prime or whatever because we didn't have Netflix at the time. I was partway through season 1, and all of a sudden Amazon took it off of their website. So I talked to my parents, and then we got Netflix, and Netflix had all 5 seasons on there. So I binge watched the entire thing. Lost is the first show that I've ever watched like the whole season like that, or the whole series like that on Netflix. It's the first show I've ever binge watched. I've ever enjoyed that much to watch for that long period of time. Lost is pretty much amazing. I don't know. It's probably one of my favorite shows. I started it a second time. I'm only on season 2 because I'm not binge watching it now. I just go back and watch it every once in a while. So if you guys don't know the basic idea, so it's where there's this plane filled with people and it crash lands on an island. And, when it crash lands on the island, they're trying to figure out, where are they? Where are the other people? Because half the plane is missing. It starts off following the main character Jack, who's a doctor, and he's on the one beach with the. I think he's with the front of the plane. No, he's with the middle section of the plane. It broke into 3 pieces. He's with the middle section of the plane, and he's pretty much helping gather up all the survivors there, and they're trying to figure out where the other parts of the plane went because they saw it break away and fly over another part of the island. And as far as they can tell, this island's uninhabited. There's no one there, and there's no way for them to get in contact with the mainland, the main world. They're trying to figure out where in the world they crashed exactly. And it goes on that you find out they're not the only ones on the island. There's this mysterious other group of people called the Others. And at first, the Others are seen as straight up enemies, nasty people that live on the island. And Lost is really, the only way I can describe it, it's kind of like, what's that, that one movie where they've got their dreams inside of the dreams, and it really just hurts your head at times. That's how Lost is. I've talked to a lot of people that have gotten up to the 4th season, the end of the 3rd, the start of the 4th season, and then they just stop watching it because it gets too confusing. Because it's really hard for me to explain all the things that go on to summarize up all 5 seasons. But Lost is a really amazing show, and I highly recommend that if you guys haven't watched it, it's on Netflix. So if you have Netflix, just go type in Lost and start it up, and you'll probably be hooked by the 5th episode. At least try to finish out season 1 and then see if you still like it or not. I was hooked right away, but I know for some people it takes a couple episodes. But what was I trying to say? Oh yeah, so it's a really, really confusing show at times, though. And a lot of people quit around season 4 just because it gets too confusing. But if you carry on and watch the whole thing all the way throughout, and you finish out season 5, and you finish the whole series, you get most of your questions answered. And in the end, it's it kind of all makes sense. The ending's pretty controversial, though. I'm not going to really go into it, but a lot of people either love it or hate it. But I recommend that if you guys get really confused at some time, or watching the show, or you think it's just too much, it just hurts your head, just keep watching it and finish it out, and it'll all make sense in the end. But Lost is a really awesome show because it's got its intense moments, it's got its happy moments, its sad moments, and I think really the thing that puts it apart from the 100 is I think the acting is a lot better. The 100 is really good, but it's there's probably 50 of these different series on Netflix nowadays that are good, but it seems kind of off. Something doesn't seem quite right. I don't know how to explain it. You just can't really get into it. And it's usually because the acting is kind of bad. Arrow. Arrow's really good. And I really like it, and I love like the action and the whole story, but it's like the acting isn't really great. Like, I don't know, maybe it's just the way it's written, but it just seems kind of off. Like, something just seems a little weird, and that's how a lot of series on Netflix feel to me. But the reason why I really love Lost the most is because it's got some really, really awesome like feel good moments. Like the part where Hurley and I forget who was with them. I think maybe Jin, maybe the Asian guy, but they were like golfing. They were just for the hell of it. They set up their own little golf course, and it's just like this beautiful shot of like this whole like grassy valley with like clouds above it and everything, and it's just, Hawaii's beautiful. I mean, I've never been there, but Lost takes place in Hawaii. That's where they actually filmed it, and it's just amazing. And then there's this part where they get the old Dharma van running, and they're all driving around in the van having a good ass time, listening to music. And I forget, I found the clip on YouTube, but it's one of those moments in the show that you go back and look up on YouTube, because like it just gives you like such a nice feeling inside. Like it's just awesome. And then kind of sad / happy at the end of the series, they had this whole montage of everyone's like feelings, pretty much, like all the moments when everyone kissed, or like the really happy moments, or the time where Vincent ran around the corner, the dog. And by that time in season 5, because once I got to season 4, I quit. I took a break, just like everyone else pretty much says they do, because it gets like too much. And I took a break for probably like 3 or 4 months before I came back and finally finished it off before I went to boot camp. And season 5, if you watch a show that's like 5, 6, 7, 8 seasons long, you remember the earlier seasons, but they're kind of like a distant memory, because you probably started them months ago, a year ago, 2 years ago. So you don't remember it that well. And this montage was just bringing it all back, And you got to remember, they do a season for a show every year. So these people were 5 or so years younger at the start of the show. So looking back at this montage is just crazy. Like, it's just crazy to see how much everyone's changed and how much the show has changed, and all the people that are dead and gone, and all the people that have joined the cast, and it's just amazing. I don't know, like that montage and the Lost theme music, it really got me. Like it was a really like, I don't know, it was just probably my favorite moment of the whole show. Like it was really emotional and awesome. But at the same time, the show is not all about like happiness and emotion. It's a lot of dark too. It's a lot of I forget what season it is. Maybe like season 2. There was someone dying almost every episode, and a lot of times it was people that you didn't think was going to die. So that, at the same time, it's a show that kind of keeps you on your toes. And there's a whole time travel aspect to it in the later seasons. There's this whole spirit of the island and all this craziness. It gets really, really hard to believe, but it's really good. And if you just kind of, because if you use reason and you really think about it, you're like, this really isn't possible, blah, blah, blah. And it kind of ruins it. But if you really just let yourself kind of get lost in the show, and just kind of, let yourself be in that universe, it's a really good show. I don't know. But I spent pretty much the whole commentary talking about Lost. As you guys can tell, probably Lost wins this versus over the 100. But the 100 is really similar, and it's another show that I really like that I've been watching recently. So I'll talk about that for a few minutes before I end the video. So the 100 is, I didn't realize it until just recently, but it's kind of like a new version of Lost. It's kind of like Lost with teenagers. It's kind of like Lost with teenagers in space. Like, it's actually really similar in a lot of ways. I made this whole list of characters that are similar to each other, but now I can't really remember. Obviously, Jack is a lot like Clark, the main chick from the 100. Murphy is a lot like Sawyer at the beginning, because they're both like the hated ones of the camp and kept up as prisoners, and then they became, really nice later on. Desmond, he's a lot like his character that he plays in the 100. I forget his name in the 100, but they're pretty similar characters. Hurley, who was I going to say Hurley's a lot like? There's someone, like, they're not fat, but there's someone that's like a really, really similar character to Hurley. Like, they're always happy and like they don't want to hurt anyone, and I can't remember right now. It was someone that lost a girlfriend, because Hurley also lost a girlfriend. Trying really hard to think. I don't know. You guys might be able to to think of it if you've watched the series. But Hurley loses his girlfriend in Lost. You know, she dies, and it's really sad. And there's someone that happened to in the 100, and I don't know why I'm blanking out on all the names right now. But they lost their girlfriend too, and the characters themselves are really similar. I don't know. There's just a lot of similarities between these two shows. The 100 I think has a little bit not quite as good of acting, but it's crazy because there's so many people. Like there's so many new people because there's like multiple groups. In Lost there's like a few main groups. In the 100 there's always new groups of people showing up, which makes it really interesting. Oh, Jasper, that's his name, Jasper. He's kind of like this skinny, kind of like timid little kid. Well, not little kid, he's a teenager, but he's kind of like timid and shy, and he's really smart, but he's really nerdy, and he's like kind of like the pacifist of the group. And that's exactly the same way as Hurley, except Hurley's obviously fat. But they're like really similar character types. But Jasper also loses his girlfriend that he like falls in love with, like right after they kiss for the first time or whatever. She dies, which is kind of what happens with Hurley and his girlfriend. I forget her name, but yeah, it was really sad. But they're kind of similar in that way. I don't know. It's kind of like, and the 100 was made a few years after Lost. It's kind of like the people that made the 100 like looked at Lost and kind of thought about all the character development and kind of copied it almost for their show. But the 100 is pretty awesome. I'll give a really quick summary because I got to end this commentary. But they're up in this spaceship called the Ark, and it's because there was a nuclear war on Earth, so everyone's evacuated up to space. And as far as the people in space know, there's no one left on the ground. They think it's uninhabitable. And because they've only got so much oxygen and so much food supplies, they can't really afford to have a jail to keep people around. So if you're over the age of 18 and you commit any crime, you're instantly floated, which is where they shoot you out in space and you're executed pretty much. So it's pretty much capital punishment for any crime. So that's kind of like a dystopia kind of thing, because you would think because like such severe punishment that no one would commit any crimes and they'd have a perfect society. But that's not how it goes. People still commit crimes all the time and they get floated all the time. Now, if you're under the age of 18, so technically you're a minor, and you commit a crime, they don't float you because that would be kind of messed up to float a 12-year-old or to float someone that's 17 or 8. So what they do is they keep you in this special jail. I think it's called like the Skybox. Up until your 18th birthday, and when you hit age 18, I think they have like a little trial type thing where they decide like, are they good to go? Do we give them a punishment, or was the crime they committed worthy of floating? So really, this is kind of unfair. I mean, if you're going to commit a crime, I would highly suggest you do it before your 18th birthday. That way, at least you get a trial. Otherwise, you just get floated. So yeah. Anyway, so they're running out of oxygen or something. I forget. It's been a while since I watched season 1. But they're running out of oxygen, I think. So they send the 100, which is the 100 kids that are in the jail. They shoot them all down to Earth, and I think it's pretty much like an execution. But they said it was going to be like an exploration or something. But they're like, hey, these kids are expendable. They're all criminals anyway. So they shot them down to Earth. These kids crash land on Earth. A bunch of them die in the crash. There's 100 of them originally. That's why the show's called the 100. And then they find out they're not the only ones on the ground. There's these people called grounders, which are just like the outsiders or the others or whatever in Lost. And the grounders are, at first, they're enemies, they fight, and then they end up banding together against something that's bigger than them, which is the Mountain Men. I don't really have a lot of time left in this commentary, so I'm not going to go into it and tell you all about the Mountain Men, but there's a lot to be said there. There's some twisted people, but at the same time, some of them are good. But, in the end, war is war, and you can't always save the good people, you kind of, I don't know, it's war. But this show is really good too. I really love it. There's only 2 seasons on Netflix right now. I think a 3rd season has either already aired on TV or it's airing right now. But there's at least 2 seasons on Netflix, so I've watched both seasons, and it's really good. I can't wait for them to release the 3rd. It'll probably be like a year from now because they just released the 2nd. But yeah, it's a really good show, and I'm gonna do more of these versus commentaries in the future. A lot about video games and TV shows, because I've got a lot that I want to compare and contrast. But overall, you guys, out of the 100 and Lost, I would say Lost is the winner. Now, I'm not sure if it's going to stay that way. Who knows? Maybe when I see 3 more seasons of the 100, I might change my mind. But for now, Lost is the winner pretty easily. It wins. And if you guys have watched either one of these shows, or you have an opinion. I hope I didn't ruin it for you guys if you haven't seen them, but I gave a little disclaimer at the beginning of the video. But just leave a comment. I'd like to know what you guys think, which one you prefer, and why. All right, thank you guys for watching. All right, bye.